Welcome to our Fly podcast, Fulfill Life Yourself, where in this podcast we talk about ways that you truly can fulfill life yourself, not relying on the external world, not relying on a therapist, anyone else, it's you.
And we like to always review the basic, simple principles that your brain functions on a reward system. It's a neurochemical reward system, and that reward system is what drives all of your actions. And number two is that the reward system is primarily a reaction to a perception. And then number three is that our actions are all based off of attempting to get the reward.
And so based off those basic principles, all the things that we're going to be talking about will always tie into those ideas and those concepts. And today we want to talk about breakthroughs, how breakthroughs are really the way of helping us get into that free state. But not only that, but getting us out of the confined state. How many times do you catch yourself being in that state of mind where you're just not being effective, you're not being able to get the things that you want in life, or you're depressed, or you're sad, or you're anxious? I mean, all those feelings that we don't want to feel are signs and flags of us being in that confined state.
And if you pay attention, you'll notice that periodically as you go throughout the day, there's this thing telling you there's more. Like there's something more there. Like you're in this situation. I just talked about one today where I was like, I was doing something a certain way, but I knew there was something else. There was something more. But because I was in my old patterns of thinking that come from my childhood, I couldn't think of them. And it wasn't until later that I'm like, oh, that is what it was. I knew there was something more there. How often does that happen? And what if you were able to tap into that and have that a consistent thing in your life where that was the bigger percentage of your time? You were almost always in this place where you're tapping into that intuition that you have that's built into you.
Have you ever had a time in your life where you really want to get something done? You have this goal in mind, you have this plan or whatever, and you're just really trying to achieve that. Except as you're trying to achieve that or get that done, you are writing a checklist, right? You're writing, okay, I got to do this, I need this, I need this. And then all of a sudden you feel all these expectations of what you need to do to be able to get that goal or to feel like you've accomplished something or you did your best or whatever. And so then you have this plan and you write it all down, and then you just keep trying to push yourself to get those things done. You're just trying to like, okay, just do it, right? But maybe there's a better way to do it.
Notice how good that explanation was? It's because it's something she just went through.
Yes. Just getting this breakthrough of thinking through this process of trying to plan and trying to get towards your goals and doing it in a way that's not the most effective.
And in these videos, our goal is to really be at the highest state so we can serve you at the highest level. Yes. And we know that. And so when we're not there, we got to work on it. So we spend a good extra hour or more. Yeah. It's almost 1 o'clock, maybe 2 hours, just working through this and getting us to this place where we're in this high state, where we have this energy, where we're ready to go. And this is how it is when you're working with other people, when you're trying to influence someone else and try to help influence and change their lives. It's about getting into this state of mind that is creative. Because notice when you're not creative what life is like. What goes on in your head and your life when you're not creative? What are you doing when you're not creative? You're repetitive, right?
Yeah, and you're trying to make this whole plan and trying to push the creativity into yourself, kind of. Because you're like, oh, I got these ideas. I'll try and make up all these ideas and all these strategies of how to do this. So you're like, okay, well, what is that? Instead of like when you're in a free state, it's like all of a sudden it just comes to you and you're like, oh, I have this great idea and I'll just write this down, and it just flows, right? A free flow state. And not having to go through and try and write all those things down, but it just coming to you, and then at the end of the day you look back and you just realize, wow, I just did all of those things that I really wanted to do the whole day, and I didn't even have to forcefully make myself make this plan and forcefully push myself to do it, right? People always talk about what's that word of self-discipline. Like you gotta have self-discipline to get your goals. And it's like this way, the self-discipline is just automatic, natural, and it just comes to you and you're just doing it all of a sudden.
It does not feel like discipline. Yeah, who is it that wrote that book that discipline doesn't work?
Yeah.
I can't remember. He's a local, here in Utah somewhere, but he wrote a book about discipline doesn't work. You got to get your head in the game. And you got to make it a game. Right? Yeah. It's got to be fun. It's got to light you up. When it's not lighting you up, it's not going to be the most productive, and you might be going in circles. And what you're literally doing is repeating. You're on repeat. If you're not creating, you're on repeat.
Repeating, which is still progressing and still getting the things you want, just on a much slower level, right? Because we're never repeating the exact same. We never have the same experiences every single time, but we're just learning at a slower pace.
A slower pace. It's just not getting us there at the speed that we could be getting there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you ever feel like you're in a slump, if you're ever stuck or whatever, know that your creativity is slowing down, and that's why you're feeling that, because there's something inside you telling there's more of you. Like you're bigger, you're better, you're more. You're capable. It's all in you, right? And when you think about people who struggle, or when we struggle with feeling frantic or feeling panicked or frustrated or disappointed or upset or any of those things, it's always a matter of bringing yourself up and changing and shifting your focus and the meaning you give the moment in time and all the things around it to help get you into that incredible state that we talk about, right?
And so being able to have those breakthroughs, one big step that recently we've kind of been forgetting or not focusing as much on is when you have that breakthrough, after the huge breakthrough, to condition it. Because so many times we have this big breakthrough and we're like, wow, that was awesome. And then we move on with our life and we'll forget it faster. But if you think about that breakthrough and you drive it deeper and you make it so the more fulfillment that you've gotten out of it, you see more of the reward of it and go deeper and deeper and deeper, then it creates this big breakthrough in your head, because it was big. The whole time the breakthrough was this big thing. But in your perception, you didn't see it as this big thing, and so you didn't focus as much on it. And so making it bigger, driving it deeper, makes it so that you have more focus on it so that it changes yourself even more.
And there is like a biochemical reason. There's a physiological, biochemical reason that we tend to, after a breakthrough, kind of like want to drop down, because there's a surge. And in our body naturally, and in our brain, in our cells, when there's a surge, we often want to rebound. So it's the recovery of when you have that big breakthrough and you have this big rush. So oftentimes you have a tendency to kind of come down a little bit. And so the goal is to keep the momentum going. Psychologically, keep the momentum going, because it's not true. Your brain thinks, oh, wait, we're out of energy. We just used it all up. But it's not true. You didn't just use it up, and there's plenty more. You just keep going on that thing and building on it and making it bigger.
And as you go, when you are going through that process of a breakthrough, you feel a lot of the pain of what you're going through, because you want to change it. When you're trying to get a breakthrough, it's like, I have this thing that I just want to get out of this. I want to be in a free state. And so you're feeling all this pain and all these things. And so being able to get out of that, not having the focus on all of that pain and all those things, brings in the creativity to where you're in a completely different place. Because when you're thinking about all those painful things, it's kind of like, it kind of encourages you to keep thinking of that pain. You're like, oh, I'm trying to fix this problem by focusing on the pain. And you're like, oh, I want to fix this, and so this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And then you focus on all those things that are going wrong or not working, right? That's not efficient. That's not going to get you out into the free state, into the breakthrough mode if you're just focusing and looking on those things. But that's what we always tend to do. Our first initial reaction is, where is the problem, right? In this situation, or this morning, I was thinking about, okay, well, what is it that is the problem? Well, I haven't been getting enough sleep lately. Oh, that's the problem. So how am I going to fix it so that I'm getting better sleep so that I can be in this free state? But really, the whole sleep thing, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Or I was like, oh, I haven't been eating as healthy as I was recently. Or, all of those external things. It's like we try and go to the external world to change that first before we change ourselves internally. So being able to stop that pattern of trying to fix the things externally and feeling all that pain and going in, okay, where is it internally, to lead us to the breakthrough, to then lead us to the free state.
And it was great, because as she struggled, it brought both of us to a new state, a new higher state, where we started to come up with these ideas that weren't even related to our subjects or anything, but they were very related to our goals and our visualizations that we had had in the past. And ones that we hadn't even addressed for a very long time. And we have some new concepts that we're going to apply and use to apply this model to different ways of gamifying and making it fun and making it exciting for people and help people change at a huge level. We're talking massive leaps and jumps today. They're worth more than what we could have done in a year's time, not in a free state. Just pushing ourselves and trying to make ourselves do it. It would have taken a year to come up with what we just came up with. But we are so excited to share it, and you're going to see some of this in the near future.
And it's kind of going back to the 80-20 rule. We're spending all of our time on the 20%, which is strategy, right? The planning. We're like, okay, well, if we do this, this, and this, then we'll get these outcomes or whatever. But really, the fastest strategy is to focus on the 80%, of spending 80% of your time on the mental part of it.
The mental part.
On the mindset of being able to go in and say, okay, this is what I truly want. Where is it going to get me? Going through that whole goal setting process is that 80%. And then all of a sudden, the 20% of all the strategies and all that, it just comes naturally. And you didn't even have to consciously focus on that in the end anyway. All of a sudden, you're just getting to all of those things that you planned and you really wanted. Which is what we experienced just now. Sorry, that we have had this plan and this goal of trying to get this thing done. And as we got into the free state and as we're going into the 80% of just the mindset, all of a sudden we just did that naturally and we got the thing that we wanted.
And one of the things that we keep going to, and we're like, well, to get better at something, we keep thinking, well, we need to practice.
Yes.
We keep going back to, well, we just need to practice it. We just need to practice it. If we practice it, we'll get comfortable. And we have learned over and over, especially with Mikkel learning this and coming in and picking up on it and everything, is that it's never it's not practice. That's not saying practice isn't valuable, and it isn't. It's practice is processing. That's really what it is. You go practice, you'll process and you'll get and learn more. But it's really about the state. It's really about getting into that state. And getting into that state, once you're there, you got it. You got what you need. Your confidence, your enthusiasm. I mean, look at her. She's just like on fire. She's been just
not like this a couple minutes ago.
She's dominating this.
Trying to figure it out.
and you just start reaching your goals. It's so weird how all those daily goals, those goals that you review daily, these plans and this creation that you're making, this visualization of your future, your brain just starts to reach out and find all those pieces and bringing them into that moment. And then you start going, oh, that's how I'll get to this. That's how I'll do this thing. And you just light up. And it is just so amazing, all this energy. So much more
efficient.
Yes, the efficiency is incredible. And you know what? She wasn't the only one struggling. She helped walk me through a process where I was like, my efficiency, my desire and push for efficiency is putting me in the state that makes me incredibly inefficient.
It's that circle.
It's that circle, that cycle going through where and then I feel inefficient. So to get out of feeling inefficient, I push harder and try harder and do more. And then it's just this big binding net that I'm getting caught in. And she helped get me out of that. And I was like, oh man, that's what's going on. It's like, oh, I just got to let go and just be free and just be okay. And just know it's all there and that there's something for you in every moment that is incredibly valuable.
And remember to give that value to those breakthroughs. I mean, as small as they may seem, make them big, make them a huge deal, make them this huge breakthrough that you want really every day that you're trying to get into that free state. Just take that little thing that you just discovered and make it huge, and it just totally puts you in a free state so efficiently and fast, and it feels good. It feels really good.
And the only thing I can predict is that this is going to happen over and over. That it's still going to happen. Yep. It's still going to keep coming.
And we actually want it to keep coming.
And we want it because every time it happens, we go to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like our ideas and our thoughts and our creativity. Guys, it's all about creativity. It's creating anew. It's leaving the old and creating anew. It's not repeating the old and repeating the old and creating the old. And the old is the new, and it's just old again. And it's not like... It's about that creative process. I mean, I use that example of my closet where I was putting the shoes in, and for years I was trying to figure out how to more efficiently put the shoes in and how to fit them all and build shelves and do all these things. And all of a sudden one day I'm just like, just flip them over, put them on top of each other. You got twice capacity, right? Just think if you could double your capacity in one day, but we're not talking about doubling. We're talking about 10 times, 10x, 20x, 30x, right? If you're working a 10-hour day, or I shouldn't say working, if you're giving a 10-hour time period to this process of what you want to do to accomplish something, and maybe it's your business or whatever, you can spend 8 of those 10 hours, 8, working on up here, because you will 10x those 4 hours, and 10x is 20 hours. So you just got 20 hours out of a 10-hour day, just by relaxing, letting go, doing what puts you in a good state, thinking through things in a free place, and being exciting and you know, you can't push an artist to finish his work. You can't go in and say, hey, you got to have this done by this time, and you're only halfway through this this piece of art that you're working on and you're out of time, what's going to happen? All their skills and their creativity is going to be shot, and they're not going to do, it's not going to be what it could have been.
So it's not as efficient or effective to just try and push that creativity mode by just doing. It's not going to get you
It's not
there.
going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. So how do you take action? What do? We want to end every video with taking some kind of action. What can you do? And the one thing that we keep repeating is repeat. Repeat, right? Do this every day. Take and put in your creative planning of your daily activities, put this in it, mix this in. Keep seeing how much more valuable it is than these other things that come up in life that you think are so important. Take action. There's more that we have to provide and more that we do to help you with this, to keep this going.
And it's so fun because we have this concept in our 30-day program. If you want to hop on and get that started and do our 30-day program of having a worksheet every single day that you go through this process in your head. You write these things down physically and you go deeper and you can find those ideas and those concepts, and every day you're having a breakthrough like that. And so if you want to hop on board and do that with us, it's been really fun. We've been doing it recently as well.
It is incredible. That little worksheet is key. And it will get you to where you're doing that every day. You'll start memorizing those questions.
Yeah.
And you'll start using them outside of that activity, right? That one moment that you're doing it. Instead, you'll be in the middle of your day doing something else, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, okay, I'm filling this thing. What's that question? What do I, and you'll think of the question and it'll just come to you naturally. And sometimes you're doing it and you're writing it and you maybe don't feel like some big, huge breakthrough, but you set yourself up for feeling it oftentimes later on. And then later on, when you have something happen, then boom, that breakthrough comes through at a different level. Mm-hmm. It's about believing in it and just going and taking action, putting in the effort. Just do. It's so much about effort.
And I keep thinking when I'm in that confined state, I'm like, well, if I just keep going and going and going, I'll just get to that free state by getting these goals and getting these things accomplished. That is the lie. That is not true from my experience in the past of trying to just push through and think, okay, well, the free state's going to come once I just start doing this thing that I want to get done. Once I start making this video, or once I start writing these things down. And it just doesn't come as fast or efficiently as I want. And so that's not the way to go.
So thanks for watching this video, and we are excited for you. Fulfill life yourself. You can fly, and we'll see you next time.